Hello, hello, hello. It's Deborah Razzo here with the Women's Real Estate Network. And I am here with one of my favorite and, like, I'm going to say, smart commercial real estate investor, Laura Alice Gatoro, who we just call Laura Alice. And I'm introducing Laura Alice because she is actually going to come to us and talk to us about the unlocking the beginning, like just some ground basic stuff about commercial real estate investing. She's going to talk to us next week, next Wednesday on April. Whoa, what is that? April 3rd. Yeah, April 3rd at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But really, I'd like to find out, Laura, how did you get into commercial and why commercial? Like, what was that journey for you?
Well, it was not my first career. This is actually career number two for me. And my first career, I actually had commercial real estate as my most expensive line item on my profit and loss statement. And so bringing that in-house made a lot of sense for that business. That business changed, technology changed with it. And I actually then started renting out some of the space that I wasn't using. And in doing that, I actually ended up liking that job better and then transitioning in 2014 to do commercial real estate full time. So I do come from a real estate family. So my uncle is a property management company. My father was a builder. My mother was a bookkeeper. So a lot of it added up. And that's probably where the ideas of, hey, we should rent the square footage we're not using, came from.
Yeah.
But no, it's never a straight line, those journeys.
Oh my gosh. I can say that too. Totally never straight line. Now, I happen to know that you are a commercial real estate agent, but obviously what you're talking about right then and there was commercial real estate investing. So
Yeah.
have they both kind of been, did you walk side by side with those, or did one come before the other, or how did all that work?
I was investor first. I really, and then I realized that the sad thing was is I couldn't find a broker I wanted to work with. And in doing that, I thought, I want to see more deals. I want to talk to more people. How can I do that? And then I thought, well, maybe I need to be that broker. And so I transitioned into doing brokerage full time, like I said, in 2014, but I have been investing since 1993. So it was a long journey to discovery that when I was a principal, right, and an owner, I had one set of knowledge. And at a certain point, I really started to feel like that was very limited. And then I really wanted more knowledge, and I couldn't find an agent that I felt really comfortable working with, that I felt comfortable talking to. And so I just decided to be that person. And I have to say, it's been a great journey for that exact reason. There's a lot of people who feel that same way.
Okay, I'm gonna capitalize on that because that's one of the reasons that we're asking you to speak, because there is a limited knowledge, right? And because sometimes I think, when most people like start real estate investing, they start with a single family, right? They start with the single family homes, or they're investing for cash flow, and the world of commercial is a little mystifying, and it uses words that single family home investors don't use, right? So you're going to be here kind of demystifying that. And what are some of the things that you learned along the way that you were like, oh, because I mean, like one of the big things for me is like, oh, the loans are not handled the same way, right? Like financing is very different, right? Like, so there's a lot of really big differences. So why don't you just, tell me a couple so that I can get an idea?
Well, the beauty of commercial real estate is how much diversity is there for investors. So, most people I've found out have a product type that they like, and there's numerous product types, right? Single family is one that can be a commercially held asset, but it is a residential single family. There's different rules that apply to single family. That also includes apartments 1 to 4 units. So sometimes people buy a duplex or triplex, and we encourage them to do that, especially as a starter home. But we don't do housing. I do not specialize in housing. I've actually never owned a single family home. I'm seeing if I can go the rest of the distance that way. Because really, I want to see everything I put my money into as an asset that is going to return. I
Oh my
don't.
gosh. Hold on. I just want you to say that again. You said, I want to see everything that I put my money into as an asset that's going to return. I love you already.
Well, because we work so hard, and it's great to work hard. It's wonderful to be passionate about work, and I also want to make money while I sleep. And so if I put my money into a single family home, sometimes that yields, and we're finding sometimes that it doesn't in this current market. And I know there's been drastic changes in some of the metrics of home flippers. And there's a lot of risk associated with that, right? It's personal liability. When I, as a commercial purchaser, usually those loans are structured not on me personally, and we even get non-recourse loans for that reason, right? It's really about the property. Does the asset afford the loan? And yeah, I want all my assets to afford themselves. I don't want to pay for them. I want them to pay me.
So I have a question for you, because I think when people think about commercial real estate, they think about two things. One is they think about like huge multi-units, right? And the other thing they think about is like a big skyscraper in downtown LA, which I feel like, makes it kind of out of your reach, right? But there are things that are in your reach, right? And are you going to talk to us about that?
I would say the majority of assets are within reach. So these are assets we walk into every day. Your dry cleaner, your liquor store, your grocery store, right? You're going to the hardware store, the corner market, the coffee shop, the dress shop, right? Everywhere we shop, every time we are going into an office, and those can be big and small, these are all assets we're all really familiar with. Most of the time when I'm explaining to people what I do, it's easy because I tell them I help people buy and sell buildings like this one. Because most of the time we are in a commercial building and we're really just not even thinking about it. When most people even get their real estate license, or when they're watching HGTV, right? They're focused on housing, but there is a wealth of property types at all price ranges, by the way, even in our own city of LA. Like, we see things that are, a few $100,000 that you can buy as a commercial asset. And of course, things that are hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's everything in between.
Okay, I love that. And I love the fact that you've just encouraged me to change my mindset around commercial real estate, right? Because I think that I, sometimes feel like, oh, it's inaccessible. It's not an accessible asset class to me. And you just made it accessible. So, oh my gosh.
It is very accessible. What I think, like, what the problem is with that version of accessibility is knowledge and information. So when you're looking to buy a home, there's fair housing laws. And so this is why you can go on the MLS. You don't even have to sign on, and you can search for anything that's been bought or sold, or what your home might be valued at from a website, that takes that data and information. So all of that has fair housing laws attached to it. So it's all open source. On the commercial side, it is not. It is a paywall closed system. So that's really what attributes to the problem of not feeling like it's accessible, because you really do need an agent in a different way, because you won't have the information unless you're connected to somebody like me who has paid for all of those paywalls.
That's wonderful. And what I love about it is that you're going to come to the Women's Real Estate Network on Wednesday. Hold on. I've got the date right here. Wednesday, April 3rd at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you're going to give us basics. So an overview. And for those of you that are out there listening, like, maybe you've been like me and you've thought, oh, commercial real estate's not accessible. I think Laura Alice is going to teach us a way in which we can access it. And I love the creativity involved in looking at something and saying, oh, I can rent this out for this, or I can rent that out for that. I mean, that must be really satisfying on a creative level, is it?
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, just before this call, I was talking to somebody about a shopping center, and, what's the rental rate? What can you get here? Who are you going to rent this to? We talk a lot about, not only our buyer pools, but our renter pools. Again, there's so much variation. You can rent something out to a small, family-owned business. You can rent something out to a larger corporation, or a syndicate, a smaller group, a real estate investment trust, right? There's so many renters out in the market. And if you know your area and you know what your area needs, you already have the best first step to getting in.
Okay, I love it. So we're going back to the first rule of real estate, which is location, location, location.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that applies to all different asset classes.
It does. It definitely applies, to commercial more than ever, because if you have a vacant building that you've bought and you need to rent that out to someone, you are dealing in that very local market. And you need to know what that local market is. What can they afford? What types of businesses are valuable in that neighborhood? Not
Well,
always the same.
I love that. And I'm looking forward to hearing you speak to us next Wednesday, April 3rd at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Is there any little bits of wisdom you want to leave us with, Laura Alice?
Well, I want to talk a tiny little bit about, look, what are we going to be touching on? We're going to be touching on various product types. We're going to be touching on what some of the math metrics that we use are. Very simple math. Don't be afraid of the math. We're going to make it nice and easy and simple. And we're going to talk some about the terms that we use all the time. So those three things are going to help you just have a basic. So when you're ready to talk to someone, you at least are speaking the language enough and having those basics. I would say a commercial is accessible to everyone. Don't feel like you're not big enough of a player to play in that field. It is worth playing, and it's a great thing to diversify into. So if you're heavily vested in single family or you're heavily vested in the stock market, having something in your portfolio that is commercial is really valuable. And we'll talk about all of those things.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. All right, for those of you that are listening and you want to hear more about what Laura Alice has to share with us, join us. Click the link below. April 3rd, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm looking forward to seeing you. Thank you so much for coming on and helping me spread the news about all the wisdoms that you're going to disperse to us.
I'm excited to share. Thank you for having me.
Good. All right. See you guys there. Talk to you later. Thank you.